To inspect and replace the brake pads on your Sportsman 450 or 570, follow these steps. Park the vehicle on a flat level surface, ensure it is in park, and set the parking brake. Begin by loosening the lug nuts while the vehicle is on the ground, but do not remove at this time. Then, safely elevate the vehicle. Reference your owner's manual for proper lifting techniques. Once safely elevated, remove the lug nuts and set aside. Then, remove the wheel and set aside. Next, loosen the set screw on the back of the caliper to allow the caliper mount pin to slide backwards. Then, remove and retain the 2 caliper fasteners and 4 washers. Continue by releasing the parking brake. Then, carefully remove the caliper from the front hub and support it with a wire hanger, rope, or tension strap to avoid damage by kinking or bending the brake line. Next, push the caliper piston into the caliper bore slowly, using a C-clamp or locking pliers with the pads installed. Brake fluid will be forced back into the master cylinder fluid reservoir, so remove excess fluid as needed to prevent overflow. Also, remember to clean up any brake fluid promptly to prevent paint damage. Then, compress the caliper mounting pins using the same method. Continue by maneuvering the outer brake pad off the mount pin and pivoting around the caliper to remove. Then, repeat this process for the inner brake pad. Next, disconnect the caliper mount from the caliper boots and slide the caliper mount off the caliper. Before continuing, inspect the 2 caliper boots for tears or damage and replace as necessary. Next, clean the mount pins with a shop rag and brake cleaner to remove any old grease or debris. Then, lubricate the mount pins thoroughly. Continue by inspecting the brake pads for wear or damage and replace if necessary. Next, install the caliper mount pins into the 2 caliper boots. There is a lip that the boot needs to slide over to be secured. To do this, pinch the boots and twist to work them over the lip on the pins. Then, compress the caliper mount and mount pins if necessary. Next, install the inner brake pad onto the mount pin and rotate around the caliper to install on the other pin. Before continuing, verify that the caliper piston has been compressed sufficiently to install the outer pad. Compress as needed to gain the necessary clearance. Also, ensure that the caliper mounting pins are sufficiently compressed. Next, carefully slide the caliper assembly onto the brake disc, ensuring the brake rotor is between the 2 pads. Before continuing, ensure any items used to secure the brake caliper are removed from the wheel well. Then, install the washer and spring washer onto the caliper fastener. Continue by aligning the caliper with the mounting holes on the hub assembly, and install the fastener and washers. Then, torque the fasteners to specification. Next, tighten the set screw on the back of the caliper and turn the screw 2 or 3 times to engage the patch lock. Then, repeat this process for the other brake pads as needed. Brake pads should be replaced in pairs on the same axle. Next, reinstall the wheel on the vehicle and tighten the lug nuts until fully seated. Then, safely lower the vehicle until the tires begin to touch the ground. This will help keep the wheel in place when torquing. Once lowered, torque the lug nuts to specification in a crisscross pattern. Then, safely lower the vehicle completely. If the pads were replaced, the brake burnishing procedure should be completed by slowly bringing the vehicle up to 30 miles per hour and gradually applying the brakes until stopped. Repeat this procedure 10 times while ensuring the brakes have had sufficient time to cool between runs to prevent brake disc warping. For more information, see your authorized Polaris dealer or visit Polaris.com.